Welcome back, storytellers, to the Garlic Marketing Show. I've got yet another amazing guest. I'm super excited to bring to you the best law firm consultants, and he's grown his law firm himself. So you know he does it right, Mike Morse. But before we get going, your client stories are your most powerful tool for your law firm, for your dental practice, for any type of business. So don't settle on just cruddy testimonials. Create video case stories. Learn how to collect, craft, and deliver an arsenal of video case stories, and then find the experts to help them make your business the only choice. You can download a 10-part case story course and find all those people at irongarlic.com/case stories. We'll have that link down below if you're watching this on YouTube or in the show notes. But let's get to it. I'm super excited. We've got a limited time, and this guy is an amazing wealth of knowledge. Mike Morse, thank you for coming on the Garlic Marketing Show.
My pleasure. Excited to be here.
I'm super excited. Mike's book is fantastic. I just finished it. It's Fireproof, a 5-step model to take your law firm from unpredictable to wildly profitable. Now, I can almost guarantee that every podcast that Mike's on, everyone asks him to tell the Fireproof story. And I'm going to make you go buy the book to listen to it, because whatever business you're in, this book will help you get in the right mindset. Mike, tell me a little bit about you're a plaintiff's personal injury firm in Detroit, in the Detroit area. Tell me a little bit about how your firm has grown and what were the key points to that.
Well, I was a solo into the 2000s, and then I started slowly adding people, about 20, 25 people, until around 2007, when I decided for the first time to hire a formal business coach / consultant. We were lucky enough to hire Gino Wickman, was my first one. After a mentor, I had a great mentor who unfortunately got sick. And I decided to pay for a expensive coach. And I resisted it for a couple of years, which is part of the story, is that I resisted it because I didn't want to spend whatever it was, $5,000, $6,000 for a day. I didn't want to take the time out of my busy schedule. I didn't want to basically shut down my office to do it. And I kicked myself even today because I waited 2 extra years. I shouldn't have waited those 2 years. Who knows where I'd be today if I didn't wait those 2 extra years. But I waited. 2007, I hired Gino with about 25 employees. And with his help, and there's a million stories about the help and the advice, I went from 25 employees to 150 employees in a very short period of time. I went from about $17 million in settlements and verdicts to $160 million in settlements and verdicts. And, I owe it all to the coaching and the consulting, and then being able to implement what they say. Not everybody can implement it, but we were able to implement it. And, that's where we're at, 12, 13 years later.
That's a great story. Gino Wickman has been on the show. Make sure to check out his episode, especially, his book, Entrepreneurial Leap, is fantastic. Gino runs EOS and he's, done so much. Let's talk a little bit about what was the difference. You're saying not everybody could implement it. What do you feel it was the key difference that you had to implement and grow to a $160 million law firm?
So that's a good question, Ian. I have not been asked it that way before, because I know that I give talks all the time. And I've actually said, I actually stole this line from Gary Vaynerchuk when I heard him speak live last year, that, he says 99% of you aren't going to take my advice. You're going to keep doing the bullshit you're doing and not grow and not, do all the things that you should be doing. So it takes, that entrepreneur, as Gino mentions, I believe in Entrepreneurial Leap, but he's told me before, it's a very low number. 1 or 2% of us are entrepreneurs, are visionaries. And so, unless you have that, you're not going to implement any of this. And so I don't know what's inside of me that makes me me, right? Why am I successful? Why have I grown these things? That's such a hard question. But I'm hoping that the people who take the time to listen to your amazing podcast, Ian, and all the great guests, hopefully those are the people who are going to implement it. right?
Mhm.
They're the ones who are taking the time to read the books. They're the ones taking the time to market special and spend the money and energy on your great videos to get those testimonials out there. I mean, sure, you could pick up a cell phone and do a testimonial, or you could spend a reasonable amount of money and have great testimonials, which really will move the needle. Who are you? Are you that frugal, stingy person not willing to spend those few $1,000 for amazing content for your social media and website? Or are you the one who are going to take that leap and do it? And so if you're the ones who are going to spend that money and do it, you're going to be able to grow and scale. If you're tight and you're not going to do it, well, you're probably not listening to this podcast. I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, but that's a great point to make, is because, I want to talk a little bit about the Cherry Garcia versus vanilla that you talk about in the book, because I think that's another awesome point and what's working for you now. But before we get into that, you talk about taking the leap into TV when you had to do it, and how you used it to fund. But how did that feel to start spending X amount on TV and you started doing high value production? What, were you nervous about it, or were you right away like, I know this is going to work?
Both. I was scared as hell, and I was confident in my abilities. I don't like to fail. I do everything in my power to win. And I saw the vanilla TV commercials that my competitors were running, spending $35 million a year in my market. I didn't have a name. I didn't have a face. Nobody knew who I was in 2011. I was making a good amount of money from getting referrals from the other lawyers advertising on TV, one in particular. But their commercials absolutely sucked, and everybody made fun of them. And if you go to any market, people make fun of them to this day, right? So we're now coaching 11 law firms around the country, and their competition sucks. And the goal is to stand out. The goal is when you go to pick out that ice cream flavor in the supermarket, do you want to pick out that vanilla where there's a million brands of vanilla, or do you want to pick out that Cherry Garcia that's memorable, that you think Cherry Garcia and you could think of the cherry ice cream and the chocolate chunks and the little cherries in there? It's amazing. It stands out. And I wanted to be amazing, and I wanted to stand out. So, I detail that in my book, how exactly we do it. We take you through some exercises. I give you all the categories, and then you got to bring it, right? You got to hire the right team, depending on what you're doing. Not everybody's going to want to go on TV, but like we talked about earlier, if you're going to do just video marketing, you hire a company like yours, Ian. Or if you're going to go on TV, you hire a team like I hired, Lerner and Associates, right here in Michigan. And you spend the money, you get creative, you get vulnerable, you bring in a family member or a dog or something fun and funny. You're willing to risk being ridiculed, but you know what? The times that I thought I was going to risk being ridiculed, I've gotten thousands of emails telling me about my TV commercials and about the specialness of them. I literally get them every single day from strangers. Literally, no bullshit. Every day I get an email, at least one. Got one this morning. We just did a commercial called The Masked Man, where I'm running around Detroit with a mask on, no words, the Lone Ranger music, black and white, cards going up. People are going nuts for it. It's on my YouTube channel, Mike Morse Law Firm, if you're curious. We did one last year called Ambulance Chaser. All these have been on the Super Bowl here in Michigan, and people just go nuts for these things, and there's nothing like it in the country. And so I'm cutting through the noise. I'd like to think I'm Cherry Garcia over vanilla. And it's definitely made a difference in my visibility, in my approachability. From what people tell me, the phones are ringing. And I guess that's the true measure, right? Are you getting business? Are you getting cases? Are you getting the love from your community? And the answer for me is yes.
Yeah. And that Masked Man has 4,000 views. You've got tons of views on here, but I think this is a big point for most professionals is, what's holding them back is making that leap to the Cherry Garcia. And they're looking, you talk about them looking around at other law firms. And, I always say that, I'm like, you're looking at a law firm's website that's successful. A lot of times they're successful in spite of that video, in spite of that boring website. And, and standing out is important. But why do you think so many attorneys are afraid and so many professionals are afraid to do this and stand out? Because we see the success.
So I have your answer. And it could be a dental firm, it could be a law firm, it could be anything. Here's what happens. I did the same thing. So I'm telling you myself, I decided I have to go on TV. So what do? I look at my competitors and I know that they're successful, right? Because they have homes everywhere and they're playing in the country clubs and they're barely practicing law anymore. So I want to copy them. We all want to copy them. I call that the herd mentality. And I tried that for a minute and a half. And I was disgusted with myself. And I look back at those commercials and I'm like, what was I thinking? Well, I didn't know any better. And you get a little bit of success, right? You get some calls, but it's the herd mentality. We're copying our competitors. And it took me a few years to realize I needed to do the opposite of what my competitors were doing. My team of creative people at Lerner Advertising, led by the amazing and talented and creative Ross Lerner, calls it a jujitsu move, right? You want to, counterbalance what they're doing, and you want to do the opposite of what your opponent is doing. And it's exactly what I do. If you took the time to watch all my competitors' commercials and watch my commercials, you would say this Morse guy is doing the opposite of his competition. And, and that's what I'm doing. So I don't even remember your question, but that is the answer to the question, I think. People are scared. They follow the herd because they think that the other people are successful. But like you said, they might be just successful for other reasons. You don't know why they're successful. You look at a good website or you look at a commercial, you assume they're being successful. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea how many root canal procedures they're doing or how many auto accidents are signing up. You have no idea. Nobody knows what my internal numbers are but me. And so don't assume just because they're on TV spending millions of dollars that it's successful.
Exactly. I think that's a great thing. And, I think the other thing that holds back a lot of these professionals is worrying about their peer group. And, because their peer group, and they're not business people, right? They're not generally a professional, like with the lawyer peer group is not business people. And they look down on someone who does a lot of marketing. I'm here in Orlando. I hear from everyone how, poo-pooing on John Morgan, but you can't argue with the guy's success. So, has that affected your business negatively, being so different from every lawyer out there?
Not at all. I mean, I heard a rumor that one of my competitors, who's kind of a douchebag, was telling people that I'm not a lawyer anymore, I'm a businessman. And I thought, that's the best dart they could throw at me? Thank you. I wear that with a badge of honor. I wrote a business book. Listen, when you're on top, you know the old stories about the kings. Everybody wants to topple them. Now, I'm not the king in my town, but I definitely have some success, and people definitely like to take shots at me. But I don't give a shit. I mean, I'm me. I have a great life. I have a great family, and a great business, quite frankly. And what are they going to say? It really matters what the consumers say, what the customers say, what my clients say, and they are calling me. So no, I do not care what my competition says. I don't care what the other lawyers in town say at all.
Exactly. I think that, and that's a great attitude because that frees you, doesn't it? It frees you up to do a lot of great things.
Well, it goes to what I was saying about what, that people follow, the herd mentality. I don't do that. I no longer look at my competition. I think people get stuck by looking at their competition, following their competition. Again, it doesn't matter if you're a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, a chiropractor. They look at their competition. They think they see people successful and they follow, they copy. My argument is don't do that. My argument is those are the vanilla people and you want to be Cherry Garcia. And we are helping other firms do that. And I'm looking at their commercials and I'm looking at their videos on their websites and I'm looking at their URLs and their phone numbers, and they're like everybody else. And I say, how are you going to stand out? Atlanta spends $75 million a year on just legal ads. How are you going to spend $1 million and stand out by running the same shit that John Morgan's running and everybody else? No, you have to figure out the way to stand out. And I don't know how many different ways to say it, but that's the key.
Obviously doing a lot of marketing, and you're being a businessman, which I think is important because you can still be a professional and a businessman and take care of your clients and do a lot of great things. But what was the massive shift that allowed you to do all that stuff and escape from being just the attorney?
So I love being an attorney. I think I'm a great attorney. I've tried dozens and dozens of jury trials and had wild success. And then when I hired my business consultant and I decided I wanted to be able to help more people, that I had to learn how to delegate and structure a business. So I figured out my org chart. I figured out my accountability chart and how I had to set up a business, talk a lot about visionary and integrator and all that kind of stuff, and realized that I was doing both. So I was running my business and I was the visionary of my business. And I was coming up with all those big ideas. I was that 1 or 2% of the people. I had 50 ideas a day. One was good, but that's still 365 good ideas a year. And I had nobody I wasn't following through on most of them. And because I was still trying cases, talking to every single client, writing every check, hiring people, figuring out where they're going to sit, dealing with the insurance, going to Costco to buy the supplies. I mean, I was doing everything. And I think a lot of businesses can resonate with that they're doing everything. I talk to lawyers all the time. They want to try every case and they want to be the visionary. Well, you can't do both. You could try some of the cases, but you can't do everything. So once I learned that the visionary sits up here, integrator is right below them, and then all the department heads are below them, and then all the employees are below them. And that's the hierarchy of a good company, any organization. I mean, the day I heard that concept, I had 50% less direct reports. My world just opened up because I started being able to delegate. And delegating is a whole different monster for any business. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with my doctor friends and my dental friends who have 1 or 2 people in their firm. They know they're great doctors and dentists, but they can't figure out how to scale because they think that everybody comes to them because they want their hands working on their mouth, working on their shoulder, working on their knee, right? Well, lawyers think the same. If you go to any lawyer you know, Ian, and say, who's the best at talking to clients? Me. Who's the best trying cases? Me. Who's the best, et cetera, right? You know what I'm talking about. And so the major shift that you just asked me about, the major shift was realizing that that's bullshit, that there are better people than me or just as good a people as me who could do anything, right? I'm not the best trial lawyer in the country. I'm not the best person to talk to adjusters in the country. I'm not the best at any of that stuff, right? I don't know if is there one best, but I'm really, really good. I'm really competent, and I can teach people how to carry on what I believe in and how I do things and how I want things done, how I want my clients treated, right? I mean, to me, in my book, that's one of the most important things we do is we give outstanding customer service. That's one of our core values, outstanding customer service. And I'm a stickler on it. I'm a stickler about keeping people informed about their case, about returning calls that day. And so I found people who love talking to clients and who love giving great customer service. And they know if a client calls and says, I left a message for John, and John doesn't call him back, the call gets piped into me. And nobody in my firm wants that. So we set up some accountability measures. So once I learned that that I could delegate and be successful and hand people off to other great lawyers, my world just completely shifted. And most business owners never figure that out.
Mm-hmm. That's the difference, right? Between being self-employed and being a business owner. And we talk about a lot, and, Gino's talked about Entrepreneurial Leap, and it's a big shift. So now you're essentially CEO of your firm, and you're helping coach other firms to do the same thing. When you look at this, is there one thing that you tell them to delegate right away and one thing you tell them that's the last thing they should delegate?
Chapter 1, know thyself. You have to know who you are. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you love to do? What don't you love to do? And my goal as a coach is to move that person to their sweet spot, to make sure eventually that they're only working on things that they love to do and that they're great at. And I am a living example that it's possible. And I promise you, Ian, do this with one of your clients, do this with a friend, do the delegate and elevate a chart. And people, I even said, I thought when Gino told me it, I thought he was high. I thought there's no way that I could delegate all that stuff that I'm spending 90% of my time on and just work on my sweet spot. But I was wrong. And I do. And what I'm seeing with the lawyers that we're working with right now is the first key move is extricating the visionaries from their dockets. Doesn't mean they're not working on law. That doesn't mean they're not trying cases. It doesn't mean they're not talking to their clients every day, but they don't have a full docket that they're in charge of. They find a great lawyer in their firm, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 lawyers, and they move that docket to those lawyers, and it's life-changing. They're reporting it's life-changing. I remember it from 12 years ago as being life-changing, but they're now reporting it's life-changing. So that's the first step is, are they the visionary? Are they the integrator? Realizing they can't do both, setting up a good org chart, teaching them how to delegate. And that's the first step. That's why it's chapter 1 in Fireproof.
And yeah, you talk a lot about that. Coming back to the marketing thing, I see a lot of attorneys that don't want to even think about marketing, right? They want to just completely delegate that to an agency, completely delegate that off to someone else. Do you feel like even if they don't love marketing, they should get to know it as a business owner?
Yes. You have to understand marketing and advertising. I don't know many business owners. It's a good question, because I don't know many business owners who don't like it, right? If you're a business owner, you got to have some entrepreneurial spirit, you have to have some business sense. Most don't have great business sense, but hopefully they've read E-Myth and they've read, Traction, and they've read the books to get them to understand that they have to have some knowledge of these things. But how are they going to get a client? You can't set up a business without getting clients. I don't know. I can't think of a business where you just hang a shingle and don't do anything and they come, right? I can't think of one. And so, people need to understand marketing and advertising. And then if they understand it this much, they're going to stay a solo. They're going to stay small. They're going to make hopefully a nice living. And I think that's 90% of the businesses out there. And then the ones who are crazy like me want to scale, want to grow, want to help more people. I love building things. I always loved Tinker Toys as a kid. I always loved building blocks. I loved Lego. I love building stuff. And what I'm getting to do now is, because my law firm is running so well and seamlessly, and I have amazing staff and 40 amazing lawyers who are helping my thousands of clients, that I'm now able to carve a little bit of my time to help other law firms grow and other businesses grow. We have a trucking company. We're talking to some medical firms. We're doing some other stuff, because what we're talking about is universal. And to me, it's energizing. Like talking to you right now, I'm high. I'm excited. I love, hopefully somebody listens to this and gets an aha moment, because I'm getting emails from people. I watched you on Ian Garlick's podcast, and when you said this, it changed my life. Like, that's amazing to me. It's as good as anything. It's better than any drug or alcohol I could think of. And it's just fun. So I love the aha moments. I love that the book is being an aha moment for people, hopefully several. And it starts with the marketing and advertising. It starts with know thyself, but you got to know how to market and advertise at least a little bit to make those phones ring. Yeah.
And I want to ask you a little bit about that now, but before we move forward, if you all want to learn more about working with Mike, go to 855mikewins.com/fireproof. You can learn more about the book, more about the people that he's helping. These systems work, and I know it because we use a lot of the same systems in our business. If you implement these and stay true to them, what Mike's talking about, you will grow a firm that will work. whether it's a law firm, a dental firm, whatever. So back to the marketing. If you had to start over right now, you were a brand new personal injury law firm, like you were talking about in the book, essentially 0 cases. What would be the first type of marketing that you would do right now?
So 2 of our coaching clients are solos and don't have a big budget for TV. And so we've been talking about that. And we're researching, the cost of billboards. We're researching the cost of, great website and SEO and great, videos like you guys produce, Ian. Those are, for low budgets, that's the price of entry right now, is a great website, great social media, great videos for your social media to support it so they get to know you, develop a brand. I can't think of a business that wouldn't do well with a personal brand. I was on a podcast last week, Startup Nation, I think it was, and the guy after the show said, your next book has to be about starting a personal brand. And I don't talk about that in the book, and I don't really talk about it, but you asked that good question, and I'm making up an answer as we go, and I've already given you 3 answers, and I'm going back so you can edit anything you want.
No, I love this.
The most important thing is personal brand. I take back what I just said. I think you got to figure out who you are, figure out your business. Can you bring out a personal brand? Hopefully, not everybody can do it. Not everybody, has this kind of hair, and not everybody can pull it off. But if you have a personality and you are your business, then figure out a way to develop a personal brand through video, through billboards, through social media. That is the win. That's the trifecta. And it's not that expensive. You could do a podcast. You could do a free podcast. And so I would say, who are you? Start with a personal brand, and then, it's guerrilla marketing. What can you afford? And kind of blow it up that way.
And so for those solos, how much of their time and money would you recommend to marketing?
As much as they can, money-wise and time-wise, as much as they can. It'll pay off later on. Get it. It's a great question. Because I wish I would have had this, I wasted a lot of time and years and money, and I wasn't focused on developing a personal brand, and I wasn't focused on, what was the best way to go out there and get clients. I was doing everything. Starting over, I would focus on who I am and what I stand for and what are my core values, and what do I want to be when I grow up. And I think that would get them far.
And that's a great segue into core values, because you talk about them a lot. They're important to us here at Authentic Web and at Story Cruise. They're literally written on our wall. And you have a great discussion on finding them. And I highly suggest reading this in the book. Anyone that's in business, go pick up the book, go pick up Fireproof, read about core values. And because there's a lot of key points, including not making them aspirational, which we made that mistake originally. But once again, I'm gonna let you read the book, because I want to ask questions that aren't in the book. How do you use core values in your marketing? How do you use it, to build? Obviously, they're running the business. And when we talk about core values, it's the things we hire, train, and fire by inside of our business. But how do you use them at all in your marketing?
I don't use them in my marketing that much. Mm-hmm. I don't. They're more to hire, fire, reward, and recognize my employees. That's the key. Making sure that we're working with people who have our core values, our 6 core values. I've heard people talk about them in their commercials and advertising. I haven't done it. I don't think it's all that effective. I have to think about that. I haven't been asked that, and not something that we. The answer is no, Ian.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And I like to ask that because I see it happen. I think people try and push them sometimes, and you've done such a great job of marketing that I was just curious if you have.
Listen, one of ours is dedicated to winning, outstanding customer service, great work. Okay, sure. Would those be great things to tell the public? Yeah. In the type of advertising I do, I think it wouldn't work. I think it'd be a little boring. Yeah. What lawyer isn't I mean, we all better be dedicated to winning and putting out great work, right? It's like putting, it's like it's like, I don't know.
Putting
It's
honest
just,
on there.
yeah, right. Being honest is a core value. I mean, I'll
Yeah.
tell you one mistake. I've had law firms copy my core values. Mistake. Come up with your own core values. Spend the time, write your own core values. Look at others for aspiration, right? But if a firm was trying to, compete with you and they copied your core values, they would fail, right? They're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who you are. When you and your team, Ian, sat down and wrote your core values, it was what made you guys successful. And who do you want to work with in the future? That's what we did. And other than your one where when it was an aspirational one, that was a mistake, you said, it's what makes you successful today, and that will make you successful by hiring people like that. So setting them it's a very good exercise. Most visionaries don't want to set core values. And I didn't want to. Who wanted to spend 2-3 hours talking about those things? But I'm telling you, I did it 13 years ago, and it was one of the best things we do. I never changed one. They're still the same 13 years later. They're on my walls too. Everybody knows them, and it's important.
It's a game changer. It's a game changer for running your business. I mean, I can tell the businesses when I talk to them that don't have them and the ones that do. You can tell because the ones that don't have them are always complaining about their team members. They're always complaining that, they don't have the right people. They can't find good people. And once you have those core values, it's a lot easier to find those people. There's so much good stuff about testing and business in that book. It's fantastic. It's a really easy read too. So I really like it. Great storytelling. And so, not to push the book on everyone, but go get the book. So that said, I want to come back to, we do video. I love video marketing. Let's talk a little bit about what have been your most successful videos and TV commercials, and which ones did you maybe not expect to? Which ones did you expect to be successful that weren't? I just want to talk a little bit about that because you've made so many videos.
So yeah, we have hundreds and hundreds all on the Mike Morse Law Firm YouTube channel. Please subscribe. So there's a lot there to unpack because we have so many videos. So we have a video podcast that we're on episode, I think 80, shooting 2 of those today, which I'm really enjoying. And it's making new friends, and I'm, getting interested in the criminal justice stuff. And we took on a case to get a guy out of prison after who's serving life just because of my podcast. Like, so much good stuff comes out of the podcast. We have a video guy who's in my office who does some testimonials in the office when a client is there and it's easy and it's live. He will do fun things like I have a popular video that got lots of views where a 90-year-old woman wanted me to come to her house. Her daughter wanted me to come and say happy birthday, and it's hilarious, and it's 2-3 minutes long. Ginny was her name. We went and delivered Chromebooks to a high school in need yesterday. We videotaped that. Every time we do our backpack events, we do big backpack events in August. We've given away 160 some odd thousand stuffed backpacks. We videotape all that and we turn that into content because it's stuff we're doing and it's people to get to know us and what we believe in and where our hearts are. And the commercials, I mean, I got a great creative team and I meet with them often and they pitch ideas, and some I like and some I don't like, and some I'm right on and some I'm wrong on. So for example, probably the most talked about commercial I've done is this one we're running right now called The Masked Man. This is the first year you're able to use the Lone Ranger music because it's 100 years after the death of the composer. And I didn't know that. They found that out and they brought me some storyboards and they said, you're going to be running around Detroit in a mask, helping people, saving kids' balloons from flying away. And I said, this is like March or April or May. Oh, look at you.
Look at this.
This is March or April or May. And I said, I hate it. I don't want to be, masks were political. I didn't want to be for masks. I didn't want to be against masks. Some of my clients, that's my girlfriend right there. Some of my clients are against and my dog, actually. So, my little dog, Jesse, is
If you're
running
listening
around
to the
here.
podcast, you got to watch us on YouTube. We're watching the video on YouTube.
Yes. So I said no to this commercial, and it's my mom right there, makes a cameo in all my spots, most of my spots. So I said no, I didn't want to do masks. And then, things happened in August, and I'm like, okay, it's time. This will work. And, black and white commercial without any sound except for the Lone Ranger music is kind of crazy, nuts. Have you ever seen a legal ad like this?
No.
I don't even put my phone number on the ad. Did you see that last board?
Right,
so that's confident. I mean, my guys are confident, and they're not asking for a sale here. They're not putting our phone number here. It's different. It's edgy. It's risky. But I've gotten thousands of emails. I don't need a lawyer, but thank you for this. And if I ever need a lawyer, I'll call you. Thousands. I walk out of my house, people compliment me on these commercials. So,
and you've got 2 dislikes. How do you feel about that? That's another thing I get all the time is when attorneys put their videos out, someone dislikes it and they're like,
you don't think those are my competitors?
Exactly.
Or somebody whose case I turned down, that I couldn't help them. I mean, I get, listen, there's haters out there, but man, who cares?
Exactly.
What are they going to say about it?
That's awesome.
But the truth is, it's probably an 80-20 rule, but it's 99% of the people like it. And yes, there are jealous assholes out there, and let them. I mean, they got to live with that. I don't spend 1 ounce of energy on it. I don't think about it. If I get a piece of hate email, I delete it before I finish it. I don't care. What am I going to? These people are sitting there miserable. I am the happiest dude you're going to talk to all week, Ian. I just am. And, when I get off this call, I get to go make my 12-year-old lunch and walk my dog and do another podcast. I mean, who cares about those people? So the people who are nervous, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that because people are going to blah, blah. I mean, you got to think about things and make sure it fits right with you. But not everybody can carry, people say to me, Michael, aren't you afraid people are going to rip you off with your book, with your commercials? No, because people won't, and they can't pull it off. And most people can't pull off these commercials. And it's like Gino giving away all his stuff. The traction stuff's all free online. 99% of the people aren't implementing it at all. People try, and then they eventually call an integrator. I know that for a fact. People need their hands held, and I needed my hand held. I couldn't do it without Gino. I don't think you can implement EOS or Fireproof without a coach. I think we teach so you can. I'd like people to look. My book's sold. There's thousands of people who've read my book. I only have 10 clients. So hopefully those people who read the book are going to take something out of it and implement it. And for those who need the hand holding and who want to scale quicker, are going to hire me or somebody else to take them through the process.
Love it. And so if someone does want to connect with you, that's a perfect segue.
Email
What's the
me.
best way?
Mike@855mikewins.com. I'm sure you'll have all that good stuff in your show notes. My website, 855mikewins.com. Everything comes to me. Everything's routed to me. Don't call, because that stuff is not routed to me. I get about 3,000 calls a day asking for me, and I take approximately this many of those calls. But once the email comes in, I get on the calls all the time. But I have 150 staff who takes those calls. So if you're a client, don't worry about it. You're going to get an answer. And, we're happy to talk Fireproof. There's lots of different tiers of services we offer, from just teaching really good Fireproof 5 times a year to weekly meetings, monthly meetings. It's not for everybody. It's expensive. We don't have room for everybody, because we don't want to help. We don't have that bandwidth, and we're not looking to help 1,000 firms. So we have a few spots left, and we're not in a hurry. We're having fun. We're not marketing. We're not advertising for it. We're just, I'm doing nice shows like this, talking to good people like you, and everything else will work itself out.
Yes. So if you're a law firm, Obviously, he's had success. I know the methodology is successful. We've seen people that he's helped be successful, and this stuff works. It just works all day long. So make sure, if you're thinking about it at all, connect with Mike. Mike Morse, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime, Ian. This was really, really fun.
Thank you. All those links will be down there. Go watch the Lone Ranger video. That's fantastic. Go check out all of his videos. You know, if you're an attorney and you're like, oh man, I could never do this. That's the difference between being successful, not being successful, is doing those things that make you a little bit uncomfortable. Go watch all this stuff. Connect with Mike. Make sure to tell him you saw him on here. Give him some comments and some love, and subscribe to his channel. And thank you all for listening to Mike and I. And this has been the Garlic Marketing Show, and I am Garlic.